Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we'll be going over the Season 3, Week 6 matchup. This is Game 1 of 2 that I have to play during this week. It is against Liam, who is the coach of the Bravest Bird team. So Liam's team is, in my opinion, kind of pigeonholed into being a rain team, as he does have the Pelipper Mega Swampert core, along with Kingdra, and the rest of his team. The rest of this team seems to still rely on kind of the rain. So to combat that, I kind of did something a little more fun, and I went with the sun team. So for the first time this season, I'm using the stupid lump of coal that is Torkoal, that I got as a privilege of losing a bet with my friend Mark, as he gave that to me as my first RU pick. But we're rocking a physically defensive set on this Torkoal with leftovers, no heat rock. My team's not a full sun team; it only has like slight advantages of the sun. Like all of my Pokemon have like one very slight advantage in the sun. So I didn't think the heat rock was necessary. So I'm just running leftovers instead. Also gave it Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin as it gets those. And then along that, I brought Lava Plume, just as an increased... It was more reliable for this kind of set than Fire Blast would be, and with the Sun Boost, Lava Plume would still do a heavy amount of damage. And then I'm also carrying Solar Beam. I figured that'd be pretty obvious to carry on it, considering we're bringing a Sun team this week. Same thing, so I'm bringing a Choice Scarf Heatran this week, or for this battle anyways. So I was going to run Eruption on it, but then I figured out that Heatran only gets Eruption during an event, so it would have had to have been Quiet Nature, so wouldn't have worked out for the Choice Scarf favor. So I did switch it to Fire Blast, which actually luckily would change the outcome of the game. We're also carrying HP Electric, specifically for Pelipper. Again, we have Solar Beam to deal with the Water-type Pokemon on his team, specifically Swampert. And then I had to bring Dragon Pulse. Believe me, I would have loved to have brought Earth Power on this thing. However, if I ran Fire Blast, Fire Blast, Solar Beam, HP Electric, and Earth Power, then I just get straight up walled by Hydreigon. So I kind of needed the Dragon Pulse to hit that, and then it does have the added benefit of being able to hit the Kingdra. We're running Modest Nature, by the way, on for the Choice Scarf Heatran, and it still outspeeds his entire team with the Scarf. So now we're running an Expert Belt as Elf, just kind of like give it good coverage for the match, just an overall good special attacker. It was Spedcrep to outspeed Lycanroc Day, which is his second most fastest Pokemon, which his fastest is actually Tornadus Therian, which I actually expected for this match, but he didn't bring. So his coverage is Fire Blast to benefit in the rain. It does carry Energy Ball again for the mostly the Mega Swampert, and then Dazzling Gleam to hit Hydreigon, and then also Thunderbolt because it's just a generally good coverage move, and once again the Pelipper. Lop's coming in, does outspeed his whole team. Do have to run Jolly though, because Adamant doesn't outspeed Tornadus Therian. So normal stabs of Return High Jump Kick. And then this time we're running 2 Elemental Punches, Fire Punch for the the Sun bonus, but also because Liam does have Fortress on his team. And then Thunder Punch once again for the Pelipper. Then we have Gracium Z Whimsicott here. It's max speed to outspeed once again the Lycanroc Day. It is carrying Solar Beam and Moonblast as stabs, and then if the sun does go away, then I can just use the Gracium Z to deal a bunch of damage without waiting a turn that Solar Beam normally would. And then I'm carrying U-Turn for momentum, and then Encore in case I have to, because other than the Tornadus Therian and outside of Choice Scarf users, this does outspeed his team even without Prankster. I did give it Chlorophyll this time just to benefit from the sun, and it does have enough. I guess I already told you that it outspeeds. Like, I really wanted this to like have enough speed EVs to always outspeed Mega Swampert outside of range, but it actually naturally does that, so I just decided to speed creep his entire team. And then I still needed a good defensive check to specifically these two, Hydreigon and Kingdra, and Florges by far does that. Even with Flash Cannon, it doesn't do a whole lot on especially defensive Florges. Unfortunately, wasn't carrying Aromatherapy this match. We're carrying Calm Mind. It's like a Calm Mind Moonblast set, which does kind of get walled by this Registeel here, but that's okay for the match. It also is carrying Toxic, and what the hell? Oh, Synthesis. As Synthesis does benefit in the sun, it heals 66% instead of 50. Does, however, get a healing nerf in the rain, only healing 33% as it comes in later. So fully expecting Liam to lead with Pelipper to get the rain up, I decided to go with leading Torkoal because the way the weather abilities work, the slower Pokemon, or I guess I should say the weather abilities trigger in order of speed. So the faster Pokemon's weather goes first. So in this case, Pelipper would go first, and then the slower Pokemon, which would be Torkoal, the sun would come first. So the sun would be active on the first turn if I led Torkoal and he led Pelipper. So that's what I do. I'm gonna lead Pelipper here. Oh shit. Okay, we're all good. I thought I was gonna play music, but he decides to lead Manectric. So I figure that that Heatran would actually be a decent check to this if he wasn't carrying HP Ground, but he is carrying HP Ground, so that's a little unfortunate. So I do make a risky play that I knew that Fire Blast would OHKO, especially in the sun, but I risked two things here of A, Fire Blast missing, and B, that this wasn't Scarfed as well. I didn't calc it. It might have been Specs. I don't really know. I guess it kind of makes sense with how much damage it did, even with HP Ground. So regardless, I do get that Manectric off the field, and he goes into Hydreigon after that. So this is an easy play for me to Florges, as Flash Cannon, as you'll see, deals not that great of damage. So here I think he goes Registeel, and I Calm Mind. So it's kind of a waste of a move for me because I'm immediately forced out by this Registeel, especially since I'm specially defensive and not physically defensive. So I go into a Zelf here, and he does go for the Iron Head, which is fine. So I just wanted to see what he would do, because I wanted the sun to get back up, and I didn't want to... So I wanted the sun to get back up, but like I couldn't switch in Torkoal immediately because the sun would have just gone away. So I needed like a filler. I needed a filler option in that turn, and a Zelf seemed to be like the best middle ground. If it got Toxic or if it carried Earthquake, then I was fine with either of those hitting a Zelf. Even that Iron Head wasn't too big of a deal. So unfortunately we do get Toxic here. So with him switching out, I figured this was a perfect opportunity for me to Stealth Rock. And by him switching out here, it does lead me to believe that his Registeel is not carrying Earthquake for the match. So with him going into Pelipper, I figure that this is by far the best time to go into Florges. I'm perfectly fine if Florges gets burned. I would much rather that in this match than a Toxic, which luckily Liam misses the Toxic here. So this pretty much gives me free reign to Toxic him back. I guess I understand the defog here. He does want to get some hazards out of the way just because they can get annoying. And that gives you free reign to Moonblast, which deals a nice chunk. A little confused why he did Hurricane here. I kind of figured he would go for the Toxic again. But this does force this Pelipper out. And once again gives me a free Moonblast. Get a decent chunk out of the Swampert. So now, wanting to get the rain out of the way for the Swampert, obviously going into Torkoal here. Earthquake does a lot more than I thought it would, and I also kind of expected him to go Waterfall, to be honest, which would have done less. But him, I needed to switch out, and luckily, I wanted to go into Whimsicott here to check this Swampert, but luckily he goes into Hydreigon, and that's an easy Moonblast for me to click. I was also expecting his Hydreigon to be like Z something. I don't really know what, but some sort of Z move. So Moonblast was a pretty easy click there. So I U-turn into Azelf here for like pretty much the same reasons as before. I didn't really think this could do a whole lot to Azelf. Unfortunately, he does protect here, so my Fire Blast gets protected, and then I do lose some health on Toxic, but that's okay. So he easily goes out, and he goes into here. I do click Thunderbolt here, just because like I kind of figured he wouldn't want to risk a Registeel getting hit by. I figured he didn't want to risk Registeel getting hit by a Fire Blast, so I decided to go Thunderbolt just to make sure that I do kill Pelipper if he did switch into that. And if he went into Swampert to resist that, then I do outspeed because there would have been no weather. So I outspeed and click Energy Ball and just kill it there. But with this, I leave out and go into Florges again. As this damage reveals to be Specs, I believe, because his Flash Cannon did a lot more damage than Hydreigon's Flash Cannon did, and Kingdra does not have as good of a special attack stat as Hydreigon. So that gave me free reign to Synthesis here. So once again, I just want to get the Sun up. I was actually kind of guaranteeing that this Iron Head would kill. A little disappointed that it didn't, because then I just kind of wasted turn in Sun. But figuring that he would protect, I do just get the Stealth Rocks up again, just to get some damage off the rest of his Pokemon when they switch in. So here I go as Elf, and seeing that he did click Protect on the last turn, I figured this would be a free turn for me to Fire Blast, but we miss. And he kills back with Iron Head. Does suck a little, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. So I do go into Heatran here and pressure with his own Fire Blast, which could OHKO this in the Sun. Even with Kingdra 4 times resisting Fire Blast, it still does a decent chunk of 30%, and I do get a burn, which is alright. It's not, again, not the biggest deal in the world. But this is pretty easy click back into Florges here, Scald this pitiful damage. So this is pretty easy Moonblast for me. At least I'm pretty sure I go for Moonblast. It would make sense for me too. Yeah, and then I get very small damage off of this. Not that big of a deal. So I'm forced out to go Lopunny here. The showdown between Lopunny and Registeel is kind of unique in the sense of obviously High Jump Kick will do the most to this, but if he protects, then it acts the same as if High Jump Kick would miss, and I would lose 50% of my health. So I just have to keep clicking Fire Punch, and he does protect here, so once I Fire Punch, I figured it's pretty safe for me to High Jump Kick here, and then if he goes for a second Protect and hits it, then I guess that's just unfortunate for me. I figured it was pretty safe, but he switches out, goes to Kingdra. I do knock it out with High Jump Kick. As I believe he goes into Swampert here. And I didn't calc it for whatever reason, but I probably should have. Weather Return could kill this. It just would have made things easier. Instead, Earthquake here, and then I just try to gain momentum by U-turning, figuring that he'd switch out. I did think about Bloom Dimming there, but I didn't really want to waste it in the case where he did switch out there. So I go back into Heatran and pressure once again with Fire Blast. Oops, pardon me for bumping the mic, but yeah, Fire Blast hits this and does a decent chunk, enough for it to matter. So I go back into Whimsicott, expecting an Earthquake, but he does Ice Punch. I thought I could live an Ice Punch, but apparently not. That's fine though. So now I go back into Lopunny, and Return definitely kills here. And then once again, so with Registeel 1v1ing this, I do have to keep clicking Fire Punch until he clicks Protect. I just didn't want to risk High Jump Kick, like, quote-unquote missing, especially now that I was at 52%. I just kept clicking Fire Punch just because I didn't want I didn't want to like basically kill myself with the Protect in case he did go for it. He actually doesn't click Protect here. He just kind of lets this thing go down. He kind of realizes it's over. So once he does kill here, I do get sort of lucky in the fact that I do hit this next Fire Blast here. Probably could have calced out that Dragon Pulse probably could have done it. I didn't really have the right stabs to 1v1 the Registeel other than the Fire Blast. Maybe Lava Plume would have been better just because, but regardless. I don't think he had Earthquake, which would have meant that I don't think Iron Head would have killed, so I'm pretty sure I could have hit 2 Fire Blasts as opposed to him killing me with 2 Iron Heads before. But regardless, we get the win here, a 2-0 win. So at this point we are 4-2, and I believe we are +3 now again. But yeah, so that was, like I said before, that was the first match of week 6 for me. This is a week where I do have 2 matches. My second match will be against Kyle, who is coach of the Waterloo Weaviles team, as that one will prove to be a good matchup. But keep your eye on the channel for that battle, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.